My name is Daniel Hayes. I'm 36 years old, a construction project manager from Denver, Colorado. I've never thought of myself as a jealous man or suspicious by nature. If anything, I was always the opposite, too trusting, too willing to give people the benefit of the doubt, especially my wife, Emily. We'd been married for 8 years, together for 11. She was a graphic designer, freelancing from home most of the time, smart, funny, the kind of woman who could walk into a room and make it brighter just by being there. At least, that's how I used to see her. We had what I thought was a strong marriage. We laughed often, traveled when we could, and spent weekends cooking together while music played in the background. If you had asked me a year ago, I would have said she was my best friend, the one person I trusted completely. But trust, I learned, is fragile. It doesn't shatter with noise. It cracks quietly in moments so small you barely notice. It started one Tuesday evening. I came home late from work, around 9 p.m. She was sitting on the couch with her laptop open, but when I walked in, she quickly minimized whatever she was looking at and smiled. "Hey, babe," she said, "you're home early." "Early? I was an hour late." I didn't think much of it then. She looked tired, her hair tied in a messy bun, and there were empty coffee cups on the table. Probably work stress, I thought. So I just smiled and kissed her forehead. But a few days later, little things started to feel off. She'd keep her phone face down. She started going on client calls in the bedroom with the door closed. At night, when I'd roll over and try to hold her, she'd say she was exhausted and turn away. At first, I blamed myself. Maybe I was too busy. Maybe she felt neglected. So I tried harder. I took her out to dinner, brought her flowers, even booked a weekend getaway for her birthday. But instead of excitement, she seemed nervous. When I told her about the trip, she forced a smile and said, "That's so sweet, Dan, but I'm swamped with deadlines. Maybe another time." Something didn't add up. Then came the night that changed everything. It was late, past midnight. I had been working on budget reports in the home office, and I went to the kitchen for water. That's when I noticed her phone glowing on the counter. She'd left it unlocked, open to a text conversation. I didn't mean to look, but curiosity and instinct took over. The message on the screen read, "Can't stop thinking about tonight. You were amazing." The reply from my wife said, "Stop it. You'll get me in trouble." My stomach dropped. At first, I thought it was some joke, maybe a friend teasing her, but then I scrolled up, and my hands began to shake. The messages went back weeks. Flirting, photos, plans, references to places I'd never been, phrases that made my skin crawl. "I love how you make me feel alive again." "He'll never know." "Let's do it again next week." And the name at the top of the chat? Evan. Jim. I remembered her mentioning him once, her trainer from the fitness studio she'd joined 3 months ago. I'd even met him once when I picked her up after a session. Tall, athletic, confident. The kind of guy who probably never had to try too hard. My chest burned with anger. My first instinct was to confront her right there. But when I looked towards the bedroom, I saw her sleeping peacefully, her face relaxed, her hand resting on my side of the bed. I froze. I couldn't do it. Not yet. Instead, I took photos of the messages, every single one. I didn't want to doubt myself later. Then I put her phone back exactly where I found it. That night, I barely slept. My mind raced with 1,000 images, her laughing with him, touching him, lying to me. Every scene felt like a knife. By morning, I had a plan. I didn't tell her what I knew. I acted normal, even kinder. I made breakfast, kissed her on the cheek, asked about her work,
Inside, I was falling apart. But I wanted proof, real proof, before I confronted her. I remembered she kept her gym schedule on a shared calendar app. That Friday, she had a private training session from 6 to 8 p.m. So I told her I had a meeting that evening and would be home late. But I wasn't going to any meeting. I drove to the gym around 5:45 and parked across the street, watching from my car. At 6 sharp, she walked in, wearing her workout leggings, hair tied up, looking perfect. Then, at 6:05, I saw him, Evan. He greeted her with a hug. Not a professional hug, a long one. Then his hand slid down her back, resting for just a second too long. My jaw clenched. I wanted to storm in, drag him out, demand answers. But I stayed still, watched. After a few minutes, they disappeared into one of the back rooms, the ones used for private training. The door shut behind them. They didn't come out for over an hour. When they did, her hair was messy, her face flushed. He leaned close, said something that made her laugh, and kissed her cheek before she left. She looked around, maybe checking if anyone saw, then got in her car and drove home. I stayed in my car, gripping the steering wheel until my hands went numb. That night, when she came home, she acted normal, kissed me, asked how my meeting went, and went to shower. I watched her walk away and thought, "You really think I don't see you?" Over the next few days, I became someone I didn't recognize. I checked her phone when she wasn't looking, installed a camera in the living room, tracked her locations through our shared account. I hated myself for it, but I needed the truth. And then one Saturday, the truth came crashing down again, this time in my own house. Emily told me she was meeting her best friend Lisa for coffee. But something felt wrong. Her tone was rehearsed, her smile too controlled. After she left, I opened the home camera app. Nothing at first, just silence. Then, around an hour later, I saw movement at the front door. She was back, with him. My blood turned to ice. They didn't waste time, straight to the living room, kissing like they couldn't breathe without each other. My heart pounded so loud I could hear it echoing in my skull. Then they went upstairs to our bedroom. I couldn't watch anymore. I drove home like a madman, the world spinning around me. My only thought was, how dare she? In our house? When I pulled up, I could see his car parked a few houses down. Every nerve in my body was on fire. I walked to the door, silent, shaking. The sounds hit me before I reached the stairs. Moans, her voice, his. That was all it took. I opened the door, and the world stopped. There they were, my wife, her lover, in my bed, the same bed where we dreamed together, laughed together, made love. She froze. He panicked, falling off the bed and scrambling to grab his clothes. I stood there, silent, my mind blank. She started crying, stammering, "Daniel, wait, it's not!" I didn't say a word. I just turned, walked downstairs, and grabbed my phone. He ran past me, half-dressed, muttering something I couldn't hear. Then I looked at her, the woman I once called my forever, and said the last words I ever spoke to her that day. "Get out." She tried to follow me, crying, begging me to listen, but I walked out the door, got in my car, and drove until the city lights disappeared in my rearview mirror. That night, I parked near an empty field, sat there in silence, and finally screamed. Not out of anger, out of pure heartbreak. I'd seen her betrayal with my own eyes. And yet part of me still loved her. That was the cruelest part. I didn't sleep, I didn't eat. I just replayed every memory, every lie, every fake smile. Over the sunrise, I had one thought left in my mind. She took everything from me, but I'm not done yet.
The morning after I caught them was silent, unnaturally silent. I woke up in my car, parked near an abandoned rest stop just outside the city. My throat was dry, my head pounding. For a few seconds, I didn't remember where I was or why I was there. Then the memories returned,
one by one, like daggers sliding between my ribs. Emily. Evan. Our bed. Their bodies tangled together in the same sheets we'd bought on our anniversary. I sat there for a long time, gripping the steering wheel until my knuckles turned white. The anger wasn't as sharp now. It had turned into something colder, controlled, focused. I'd spent years building a life with her, giving her everything, and she'd thrown it all away like it meant nothing. But she wasn't going to walk away without facing what she'd done. Not this time. Around noon, I finally drove back home. Her car was gone, and the house was quiet. The air smelled faintly of her perfume, mixed with something else I couldn't name, maybe guilt. I went straight to the bedroom. The sheets were changed, the windows open, as if she thought she could erase what happened by scrubbing away the evidence. But the ghosts were still there. I could feel them. On the nightstand was a note. "Please, call me. We need to talk." I crumpled it without reading the rest. Instead, I went to my office, turned on my computer, and opened the home security footage. The cameras had caught everything, every movement, every sound. It was all there. Undeniable proof. For hours, I watched in silence, not out of masochism, but because I needed to make sure I wasn't imagining things. I wanted to face the truth, no matter how ugly it was. By the end, I felt hollow, like something inside me had been burned out completely. That night, I didn't sleep in the house. I couldn't. I booked a motel room and called my lawyer the next morning. "Daniel," he said after listening, "this is serious. You have clear evidence of infidelity. You can file for divorce with cause. It'll protect your assets and reputation." "I don't want her money," I said quietly. "I just want her to face what she did." He sighed. "Then let's do it right. Legally. Carefully." A week passed before she reached out again. Dozens of missed calls, voicemails, texts. Finally, one message stood out. "Please, just meet me once. I need to explain." Against my better judgment, I agreed. We met at a small diner near downtown, neutral ground. She walked in wearing sunglasses, her hair pulled back, looking smaller than I remembered. "Dan," she said, her voice trembling, "I'm so sorry. Please, let me—" "Don't," I interrupted. "You don't get to rewrite this." Tears welled up in her eyes. "It was a mistake. I was lonely. I was stupid, and it didn't mean anything." "Didn't mean anything?" I said quietly. "You brought him into our home, into our bed. How long has it been going on?" 6 months. 6 months? Half a year of lies? My jaw tightened. Why him? I don't know. He made me feel seen. You've been so busy and I felt invisible. I'm not blaming you, I laughed. A hollow, bitter sound. You felt invisible, so you decided to destroy everything instead of opening your mouth. That's your excuse? Her tears fell faster. I never wanted to hurt you. Then why didn't you stop? Silence. She had no answer. I leaned back, exhaling slowly. "I'm filing for divorce," I said. "I've got everything documented. Texts, footage, timestamps. You'll hear from my lawyer." Her lips parted, panic flashing in her eyes. "Daniel, please, don't do this. Can't we fix it?" "No," I said, standing. "You made sure of that." I left her sitting there, crying into her hands as the waitress pretended not to stare. Over the next few weeks, I threw myself into the process. The paperwork, the evidence, the silence. But silence has a way of amplifying pain. Every night I lay awake replaying every conversation we ever had, wondering how many of them were lies. It wasn't about revenge anymore. It was about closure, about making her live with the consequences of her choices. I decided not to confront Evan directly. He wasn't worth it. But fate had other plans. One afternoon, as I was leaving work, I saw him, walking out of the same gym, laughing with a friend. When he noticed me, his face went pale. He tried to act casual, but I could see the fear in his eyes. "Evan," I said, approaching him, "got a minute?" He swallowed. "Look, man, I didn't mean to—" I stepped closer, my voice calm but sharp. "You knew she was married." He opened his mouth, then closed it again. "She said you two were separated." I laughed coldly. "Of course she did." He rubbed the back of his neck. "I'm sorry, all right? I didn't think it would—" "You didn't think," I cut him off. "That's the problem." He looked genuinely scared now. "Are you gonna hit me?" I shook my head. "No, you're not worth it. I just wanted you to see the kind of man you helped her become." Then I walked away, leaving him standing there, frozen. That was the last time I ever saw him. By the time the divorce was finalized, Emily had moved out of the city. Her lawyer tried to negotiate for half the house, but the evidence left her with almost nothing. Legally, it was over. Emotionally, I was still bleeding. Some nights I'd wake up reaching for her, forgetting she was gone. Other nights I'd wake up screaming her name, reliving that moment at the bedroom door. But healing, I learned, isn't a straight line. It's messy, slow, unpredictable. I started running again, started therapy, started saying no to the voice in my head that told me I'd never be enough. Then one evening, after months of silence, I got a letter. From her. It wasn't a plea for forgiveness. It was an apology, a real one. She wrote about how she'd destroyed not just our marriage, but herself, how she couldn't forgive her own reflection, how the guilt aided her every day. At the bottom she'd written, "If there's any mercy left in your heart, I hope you find peace, even if it's without me." I didn't respond, but I folded the letter and placed it in a box, not out of sentiment, but as a reminder of what betrayal costs. Months passed. One day, my therapist asked me, "Do you still love her?" I thought about it, about the good years, the laughter, the way she used to look at me before it all went wrong. Then I shook my head. No, I love who I thought she was. The difference was everything. A year later, I found myself sitting in the same diner where we'd had our last conversation. I wasn't there for her this time. I was there for me, to close the loop. I ordered a coffee, sat by the window, and watched life move outside. People laughing, couples holding hands, strangers rushing home. It felt strange, comforting even, to realize the world hadn't stopped when mine did. That's when someone sat at the table next to me. A woman, maybe in her early 30s. Brown hair, bright green eyes. She smiled shyly when her eyes met. "Sorry, didn't mean to eavesdrop, but are you reading The Alchemist? That's my favorite book." I smiled back. "Yeah, it's my second time through." She laughed softly. "It's one of those stories that hits different every time, huh?" We talked. Not for long, maybe half an hour, but it was easy, natural. When she left, she said, "Maybe I'll see you here again sometime." Maybe you will. As I walked back to my car that night, I realized something profound. Healing doesn't come when you forget the pain. It comes when you remember it, and it no longer controls you. Emily's betrayal broke me, but it also rebuilt me, piece by piece, stronger, wiser, quieter. And though I'll never thank her for what she did, I'll always remember the lesson she taught me. Love given to the wrong person becomes a weapon, but love once healed becomes armor.